So you're about to graduate college with a cybersecurity degree. Now what? This is a very common dilemma, especially with all the uncertainty in the current job market. And in this video, we're going to dispel what you should be doing here in this tricky phase. Hey, my name is Ryan from Elevate Cyber. I'm a cybersecurity professional with over a decade of experience between multiple Fortune 500 companies and the US government. And in this video, I'm going to arm you with the do's and don'ts in this tricky juncture in your learning journey that could possibly save you years of your life. So let's get right into it. So first of all, let's start off with some examples of what not to do. A lot of these are things that I commonly see people doing, and really it's going to make this process a lot harder. So number one, if you're about to graduate, want to get into cybersecurity, do not go into grad school straight away. I repeat, do not go straight into grad school. My cousin is going through this right now where he is in graduate school for cybersecurity, learning all this crazy management stuff. He just finished actually, and now he can't get a job. Not only does he not have the skill set that he needs to do a entry-level job, now he looks overqualified on paper because he has all this management stuff on his resume and through his degree program, but he has zero experience. This is one of the most common traps I see. I think a lot of people, a lot of students that are just graduating, they go into graduate school for the wrong reason. They do it out of fear. Because the fear is that they're hearing all the stuff about the current job market and stuff like that. Maybe they applied a little bit, went to some career fairs, didn't have any luck. And they feel like, oh, well, if I have this graduate degree, master's or even PhD, geez, some people I know went for the PhD before trying to get a job, and they're having trouble as well. So that I'll kind of lump that in with this as well. But they think, oh, if I have all these qualifications, then surely I'll get a job. There's no way that I can't get a job. And it becomes this moving goalpost thing. For one thing, it's like once you kind of cross over there, it actually becomes more difficult in some respects to land that job, right? So don't allow the fear to get the best of you at this stage in your career. You need to be aggressive about applying, and you need to be aggressive about upskilling yourself, learning the right skills that are going to actually be used on the job. But do not just rush into grad school. Number two is, in general, don't target a help desk job because most of the time this is unnecessary. Now, there are exceptions to this, and I'll cover them in the slides as we go through. But generally speaking, you don't want to necessarily target help desk. There's other better options for most people. And also, do not pursue CISSP. This is another very common one that I see. It's a similar issue with graduate school. Look, there's situations where graduate school can be good. I'm not saying that it's not. It can be very helpful for management. You want to be a CISO and stuff like that. But look, you need some experience first. You need some actual on-the-job experience. And then let's say you have like 3 to 5 years of experience. Then going into grad school to position yourself better for that management role, for that C-suite role, that makes sense. But just rushing straight into grad school, rushing straight into CISSP makes zero sense. And the CISSP thing is for the same reason as the graduate school one. It's a management level cybersecurity certification. In fact, it's supposed to be that you're not even allowed to take the exam unless you have at least 5 years work experience in cybersecurity. Now, there's a lot of, let's just say, questionable companies out there that will like provide loopholes for you to where you're able to take this exam and get this certification with zero experience. But just know that that barrier is there for a reason because, I mean, it's not going to be that useful for you as someone with zero experience. So in general, I would almost in every case avoid pursuing CISSP right out of your undergrad college degree. So the next thing is let's look at some of these different cases here, break it down step by step. What if you have 6 months or more before you graduate? What can you do? Well, this is actually the best position to be in, I would say, because it gives you enough time to really make some strides. So number one, you want to invest in your learning outside of the classroom. And what I mean by this is cybersecurity, and maybe you're kind of experiencing this right now if you're this far into your degree, you probably will have realized that you don't learn, if your initial instinct is like, I'm not really learning a lot that seems very practical. That instinct is correct. You are learning almost nothing relevant to your job. And the reason I can say this is I myself went for a cybersecurity degree from a major university from Penn State. And this program was vetted by the NSA, given their stamp of approval, saying it's legit. It's one of the best programs in the nation for cybersecurity. Well, guess what? Despite all of that fluff, all of that marketing, I learned pretty much nothing relevant to the job. Everything that I learned relevant to the job was learned outside the classroom. You want to definitely invest in your learning outside of the classroom. I mean, chances are if you landed on this video, it means that you are being proactive, on that front, at least to some degree. But look, sometimes you have to go and invest in yourself beyond just like YouTube and stuff as well. Keep that in mind. I mean, hell, if YouTube was enough, I would already have 6-pack abs and a 9-figure passive income. Unfortunately, the videos alone aren't enough for me to achieve that. And if you look at a video with like a million views, how many of those people do you really think are getting results? So just know that sometimes you have to invest in yourself beyond just like the basics, like the basic multiple choice certifications and basic YouTube videos and stuff like that. But regardless, you need to at least be doing something outside of the classroom. And with 6 months or more, you can really make traction in that area. You also want to dive into the hands-on. Like when you're investing in your learning, you want to invest in diving in hands-on, doing the stuff you'd actually be doing on the job, because this is the stuff that definitely school has a major deficiency in from every single program that I've seen. And you would honestly be surprised how much progress you can make in 6 months. A lot more than most people think, especially if you take a very focused approach where you are either doing this as the one thing, treating it as like, this is the season that I'm in right now and I'm just focused on this. You can make a ton of progress in 3 months in that case. Even if you just narrow down the amount of things you're doing, the scope of the things you're doing, and focus more on cybersecurity, that's alone is gonna make a huge impact. It's gonna make a huge difference. I mean, what are your peers doing, right? Like they're just going and like getting drunk every weekend and I don't know, watching football and stuff like that. I'm not saying you can't do those things, but if you do less of those things and you focus more, you can outshine pretty much everyone, because no one's doing this. No one's willing to do this. That's the thing, right? It may seem like, oh, it's so competitive, it's so difficult, but the more you do, the more you start to realize that no one else is willing to do it. So the competition that you thought you were contending with ends up being a lot smaller than you might have initially thought. I'll put it that way. Going along the lines of, investing in your skill set and, going deeper than just the surface level things like basic Discord communities, basic YouTube videos, basic multiple choice certs, or things like that, you might want to consider mentorship from a professional just to speed things along. Because like I said, 6 months or more, with the right guidance especially, you can really upskill yourself a ton during this time frame. You have the perfect amount of time where you don't have to rush things. You don't have to like force it. You can take your time and really learn the stuff thoroughly with that amount of time. And look for ways to gain experience. Freelance work comes to mind. I've said this story a couple times, but when I was in college, I looked for ways to create my own freelance opportunities by providing a free pen test service for developers that were building apps, people that were just learning computer science. And that was a way that I could basically get experience without having a job. Look for those opportunities, but if they don't exist, create. And also attend the career fair. This was a game changer for me. Think about it this way. These companies are coming directly to your school to recruit students at the school, right? So they are directly looking for students, right? Because one of the challenges as a student most of the time is you're applying to jobs and you're contending with a bunch of people that have all this experience. Maybe they got laid off or something like that. Or, maybe they are coming from other fields with various experience and things that you don't have. But when you are applying to the places at the career fair, not only are you not going to be competing with those people, for directly at least, they're also going to be coming in with the understanding that, yes, you're going to be, newer to this stuff because you're a student, right? They're going to understand. And sometimes, a lot of times actually, the people that are working at the booths and stuff were former students. They're like graduates at your college. So it's going to be a much warmer environment for you to go in, get a bunch of interviews. Like in my experience, I went to the career fair, and each career fair I went to, I had at least 4 or 5 interviews lined up, various companies. And that's actually how I got my first opportunity after college. So don't sleep on the career fair. Look, I understand if you're about to graduate and you don't have anything lined up, you could have this existential dread in the back of your mind. But honestly, don't let that cripple you into inaction. You are really doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least attend this and try. Because what's worse, the pain of going to the career fair and somehow, maybe not getting any interviews, but at least you tried? Or the pain of knowing that you could have tried, but you wussed out, right? You didn't go because you were afraid that you would fail. You didn't even take action, right? Imagine the regret you would have. What's worse? Honestly, I would take the pain of rejection over the pain of regret any day. And let's now switch up and say you have less than 6 months. Well, a lot of this stuff's going to be similar to what we saw here. The main difference is that you're going to be doing all these things, but I would more highly prioritize something like mentorship in this case because you have less time to work with. So you want to be as efficient as possible. You want to speed things along. And so if you have someone that can mentor you, then that is going to make this more doable in this tighter time frame. And also along with that, don't just rely on the mentor. You want to start to get more clear on what the different cybersecurity roles are. So take a proactive stance in this and try to do more research on what job opportunities are out there. Which one do you want to specifically target? Even if you are not 100%, understand that you are not locked into doing this forever. Remember, the idea of seasons. Maybe you start as a SOC analyst and then you get into something completely different, right? And so the nice thing about cybersecurity as well is that it is very easy to jump between roles in your career. It's not like you're going to be locked into doing one thing forever. The problem with most people is they never take this step. Even after they land a job in the field, some people never once stop to get clear on what role they actually want to do. So their entire career is decided for them based on their manager and the need of the company. Because these guys never decide what they want to do, for one thing, they lack motivation, they lack drive. But for another thing, someone else makes it for them. Their manager tells them what their goal is going to be. Their manager tells them what their career trajectory is going to be. And spoiler alert, usually not something they enjoy doing. These are the people that typically end up hating their jobs and stuff like that. So definitely, like, trust me, taking the time to do this early is going to save you so much time and so much pain in your career, because you're going to be the one in the driver's seat here. And it's also going to make it a lot easier to prepare for these jobs and really to craft a resume and really target a perfect case of why they should hire you, because hey, the job that they're looking for, you're the perfect candidate for that. This is what you specialize in, right? And just to give you a tangible example of a student of mine that I had that was graduating college, and he was in this exact scenario where he had less than 6 months left. He had a summer actually before he was about to graduate college. He was able to take the training and get a mentor. I was able to mentor him and help him land a job straight into cybersecurity. I'm going to play a quick clip from that video just to showcase that here.
And within 6 months of entering the year program, I was able to land a position as a web application security specialist. And yeah, I went basically from zero to hero.
And now let's take a look at the final case to say you just graduated. This is where, okay, there's a lot of things that come into play here. And honestly, there's no cookie cutter solution to this. You really have to dive into the details here. So you want to honestly evaluate, first off, where you're at with your technical skills and experience in cybersecurity, because that's going to govern like what next steps you should really be taking. And honestly, if you're completely unsure of this, try to get an outside opinion. Like if you know anyone that's working in the field that can take a look at your, can help evaluate you, then definitely that's something that I would recommend as well. And honestly, do you have a solid portfolio on hand? Like what does that look like? If you have done the previous steps, then you will have a portfolio and you can target cybersecurity as a first job if you prepared adequately, if you've developed the actual hands-on skill set, you've done some training and stuff outside of the classroom, you built up your portfolio, go for it. Target that job. Don't be afraid of, all the stuff that you're reading out there on the internet. Go for it. Try. See for yourself. If not, which, that could be the case as well. It's not the end of the world. I would, for most people in that case, target a general IT job, especially if you're coming from a tech-related major. Let's say you majored in MIS or you majored in, software development. Well, in the case of software development, you could go for like a software development role or something like that if you're computer science. But get like a tech job, not help desk still for these people, for sure, because you definitely have the qualifications where you can get these jobs, these IT jobs, software development in the case of a, computer science major. You just want to make sure that, you do a little bit of prep directly for that, just to fine-tune your resume and stuff for that, of course. But you're totally in a position to land one of these jobs. A little bonus tip for you. While you're, if you decide to go that route, I would prioritize applying to the companies that have an internal cybersecurity team. That way down the line, there's an opportunity potentially for you to make a lateral movement within that company, because when there's job openings, the first place that the company will look is internally. They'll say, hey, is there anyone in this company that could potentially fill this role? If there is, then you will be at a major advantage because you're only going to be competing with other people at the company trying to land that cybersecurity role rather than the entire internet in the case of a remote job, or an entire city in the case of an on-site job, which, those are a lot lower odds, right? You're putting yourself at a major advantage to, if you're in that company. So you could, think with some foresight, think ahead a little bit, prioritize those jobs, but still try to get whatever you can if it comes down to it. But just something to keep in mind. That's what I've done myself in my career, is when I first got into cybersecurity, I made that lateral movement within the current company that I was working for at the time, from IT into pen testing. Once you land that, start learning cybersecurity on the side so that you can make the career change. You know, maybe a year down the line or something like that would be pretty good. And you'll still be acquiring valuable skills in these IT roles as well. And start reinvesting that income from the new job that you're getting, because you're going to be finally making money now that you graduated college. You know, don't just go and blow all of that. Don't blow your full paycheck on a bunch of BS. I know, like, as Americans, we're the biggest consumers in the world. Like, right? We love to spend, keeping up with the Joneses, all that. I get that. If you really want to make it into cybersecurity, the best thing that you can do is to reinvest that income into training and mentorship to accelerate your timeline. Because look, once you get in that cybersecurity job and you upskill yourself, your salary is going to increase really fast. You want to have money to spend. You want to have disposable income. I mean, you're going to be able to have plenty of that once you get into the field. But if you could just really stay focused and dedicated early on, reinvest that into training, into mentorship, into learning, and accelerating that timeline, that's going to put you in the best position. Now, who would I recommend help desk for? Just because I promise you guys I would touch on that. If you're coming from a non-tech related major, you know, something completely unrelated, like liberal arts or something like that, and you decide, like, I really want to make this change into cybersecurity, but you don't have the skills yet, you don't have the portfolio or anything like that, yeah, take a help desk job, you know, take something that's, you know, a little bit closer to that tech space and stuff, and use that to get the start. And then same thing as with the people that land those IT jobs is, you know, start learning this stuff on the side so that you can make the career change, reinvest that income. If you're in help desk, you're going to have less to work with than someone's like a software developer or system administrator, something like that. I get it. But still, I mean, that's why you even more so need to be investing in your learning and accelerating your timeline so that you don't have to be in this situation for very long. Because I've talked to a lot of people that, you know, I mean, how many people do you know, if you are working, by the way, in something like help desk, how many people do you know that have been there for years and years, maybe even a decade, and they're not really loving their job? They're not really passionate about it. They're probably disliking a lot of aspects of it, but they're comfortably uncomfortable, or maybe they're not uncomfortable yet enough to make the change. You don't want to slip into that pattern for sure. So if after watching this video, if you're really passionate about getting into cybersecurity, but you're just finding it a little bit hard to stay consistent and, you know, just really stick to the learning so that you can make this happen, then definitely check out the video on screen right now that I made with my productivity system. If you implement this, it's going to make it so much easier, so much more frictionless when you go to sit down and work on this stuff, because you're already going to know exactly what you should be working on, and then you can just focus on the execution piece. And if you want some additional help, mentorship to accelerate this process, like I was saying, go ahead and check the description down below to book a call.